1963 was a year of scandal for British politics. The Profumo case nearly brought the government down, and as if that wasn't enough, Duncan Sandys, the son-in-law of Winston Churchill, announced that he was going to resign because of some nasty rumours that had been spread about him. What were these rumours about? Ethel Margaret Wigham was the only child of Helen Mann Hannay and George Hay Wigham. Her father, the son of Scottish lawyer and cricketer David Dundas Wigham, was chairman of the Celanese Corporation of Britain and North America. Margaret spent the first 14 years of her life in New York City, where she was educated privately at the Hewitt School. Her beauty was much spoken of, and she had youthful romances with Prince Ali Khan, millionaire aviator Glenn Kidston, and publishing heir Max Aitken, later the second Lord Beaverbrook. In 1928, the future actor David Niven, then 18, had sex with 15-year-old Margaret during a holiday at Bembridge on the Isle of Wight. To the fury of her father, she became pregnant as a result. She was taken into a London nursing home for a secret abortion. All hell broke loose, remembered her family cook, Elizabeth Duckworth. Margaret did not mention the episode in her 1975 memoirs, but she continued to adore Niven until the day he died. She was among the VIP guests at his London memorial service. In 1930, Margaret was presented at court in London and was known as the debutante of that year. Shortly afterwards, she announced her engagement to Charles Guy Fulk Greville, 7th Earl of Warwick. However, the wedding did not take place because she preferred Charles Francis Sweeney, 1910 to 1993, an American businessman and amateur golfer from a wealthy Pennsylvania family. Her numerous early romances included an affair with Prince George, Duke of Kent. In 1933, at 20, she married the rich American-born socialite and businessman Charles Sweeney. There was such public excitement around her wedding dress that the event halted traffic in Knightsbridge for 3 hours. In 1943, Margaret had a near-fatal fall down a lift shaft. "I fell 40 feet to the bottom of the lift shaft," she later recalled. "The only thing that saved me was the lift cable, which broke my fall. I must have clutched at it, for it was later found that all my fingernails were torn off. I apparently fell onto my knees and cracked the back of my head against the wall." Amazingly, she recovered and was able to walk again. However, it was said that her personality had acquired a new trait. She had become utterly promiscuous. Her appetite was said to be insatiable. Shortly afterwards, she met Ian Campbell, the future Duke of Argyll. Margaret wanted a title, and Ian needed her cash. Within a few years, the marriage was falling apart. The Duke was known to be addicted to alcohol, gambling, and prescription drugs, and was described as physically violent and emotionally abusive by his first 2 wives, whose money he tried to use to maintain Inverary Castle. He suspected the Duchess of infidelity and, while she was in New York, engaged a locksmith to break open a cupboard at their Mayfair home, 48 Upper Grosvenor Street. The evidence discovered resulted in the 1963 divorce case, in which the Duke accused his wife of infidelity and included a set of Polaroid photographs of the Duchess naked, save for her signature 3-strand pearl necklace in the company of another man. There were also photographs of the Duchess filleting a naked man whose face was not shown. It was speculated that this headless man was the Minister of Defence Duncan Sandys' son-in-law of Winston Churchill, who offered to resign from the cabinet. The Prime Minister persuaded Sandys not to resign and had him sent off to a Harley Street doctor in order to have his pubic hair examined. The doctor concluded that Sandys' pubic hair was not the same as that of the man in the photographs. He was in the clear. The Duchess counter-petitioned the divorce, accusing the Duke of committing adultery with her stepmother, Jane Corby Wigham. She dropped her case the day of the hearing due to lack of a witness, and later had to pay a judgment of £25,000 to her stepmother, who sued her for libel, slander, and conspiracy to suborn perjury. A list of as many as 88 men with whom the Duke believed his wife had consorted was produced. The list is said to include 2 government ministers and 3 members of the British royal family. The judge commented that the Duchess had indulged in disgusting sexual activities. Lord Denning, who was called upon by the government to track down the headless man, compared the handwriting of the 5 leading suspects. The headless man proved to be the American actor Douglas Fairbanks Jr., who was also married. Fairbanks never admitted he was the one, but the Duke got his divorce. Granting the divorce, Lord Wheatley, the presiding judge, said the evidence established that the Duchess was a completely promiscuous woman whose sexual appetite could only be satisfied with a number of men. He continued, "Her attitude to the sanctity of marriage was what moderns would call enlightened, but which, in plain language, was wholly immoral. Many of the men the Duchess was alleged to have slept with were homosexual. She was unwilling to divulge this, as sexual acts between men were illegal in the United Kingdom at the time. With her fortune diminished, she opened her London house at 48 Upper Grosvenor Street, which had been decorated for her parents in 1935 by Cyrie Morham for paid tours. Her extravagant lifestyle and ill-considered investments left her largely penniless by the time she died. In 1978, Margaret's debts forced her to move from Upper Grosvenor Street and relocate with her maid to a suite at the Grosvenor House Hotel. In 1990, unable to pay the hotel bills, she was evicted and, with the support of friends and her first husband, moved into an apartment. Margaret's children later placed her in a nursing home in Pimlico, London. The Duchess died in penury in 1993 after a bad fall in the nursing home. Just before she died at the age of 80, she told a friend, "Of course, sweetie, the only Polaroid camera in the country at this time had been lent to the Ministry of Defence." The said pictures had been taken in 1957, and at that time, Duncan Sandys had been the Minister of Defence. Her funeral, a requiem mass, was held at Church of the Immaculate Conception, Farm Street in Mayfair. She was buried alongside her first husband, Charles Sweeney, who had died only 4 months earlier, in Brookwood Cemetery in Woking, Surrey.